Hello, and welcome to Setting the Standard, the podcast about wireless radio standards creation from the Wireless Innovation Forum. I'm your host and Communications Director of the Forum, Stephanie Hamill. Today, I'm talking with Forum CEO Lee Pucker about 2021 and its highlights, and looking forward to 2022. Hi, today I'm here with CEO of the Forum, Lee Pucker. Happy New Year, Lee. It's good to see you.
Happy New Year. Good to see you.
It's the first time we've seen each other in 2022.
I know.
Okay, so today we are going to talk about some of the highlights from 2021, and then we're going to dive into hopefully some things we'll be able to see in 2022. So let's start with the Advanced Technologies Committee, our kind of umbrella, overarching project feed committee. So what happened with them in 2021?
So the big thing from the Advanced Technologies Committee in 2021 is they formed a new group looking at passive and active sensor systems and interference between those systems and other systems. Things like earth sensing systems or satellite systems, and how interference with those kind of things can be mitigated and avoided, and how it can be done in an automated fashion. So that group is it's the past work group, and they're meeting roughly once every other week. And again, the focus there is on figuring out how they can draw on the work that the WInnForum has done for TV white space, for CBRS, for 6 GHz, for other bands, and use the things that have been developed there to develop a more general framework for protection of passive and active sensor systems.
Great. Okay, and then moving on to the Spectrum Sharing Committee. What were they up to?
Spectrum Sharing Committee, so at the beginning of 2021, the priority access license systems came online. And since that point, the Spectrum Sharing Committee has been primarily focusing on providing capabilities in the standards, specifications and standards that will support addressing things that they have found in deployment in the field for both the GAA, the General Authorized Access, and Priority Authorized Access, Priority Access License levels of users. So the goal is to make more spectrum available and to better ensure that they're protecting the incumbents. And so they've been developing what they call the Release 2 standards, which are kind of a la carte. You can pick and choose the features that you need in Release 2 based on the specific deployment that you're working through, the specific location that you're at, the kind of deployment that you're doing, the spectrum that you're working with. You can pick and choose those features that you need to better enable you operating there. So the initial specifications for Release 2 came out last year, and those are complete, and they're continuing to evolve them as they go forward.
That's great. And all of those are available at cbrs.wirelessinnovation.org, both the Release 1 and Release 2 standards. It's wonderful how they keep evolving and become more specific for the users. All right, how about the Software Defined Systems Committee?
So the Software Defined Systems Committee's had two activities going on. The first is they established a partnership with SOSA, which is the Sensor Open System Architecture Group out of the Open Group. And what they're doing is providing inputs on how standards developed for software-defined radio technologies can be leveraged by SOSA in developing their standards moving forward. So they have a work group called the Tactical Communication Systems Work Group, and that group is working on developing recommendations. They've been meeting with representatives from SOSA and working on developing recommendations to provide as input to the SOSA standards. The other activity that's been going on is the standards development. So they've developed a new timing service facilities specification, both the platform independent model and platform specific models for that. They've developed an update to the transceiver facility, which includes new platform specific models there. They've kind of developed an outline for how all these specs work. They've basically put together 10 documents which have gone through, they've completed committee ballot last year, and all the comments for those have been resolved. But those 10 documents, the package basically defines 2 new standards, both from a platform independent model and how they can be implemented using, those standards can be implemented using C++ FPGA code implemented within the software communications architecture, things like that. So those were kind of the 2 efforts that the Software Defined Systems Committee had been focusing on. A lot of work there.
Yeah, those are really exciting. That harmonized timing standards and that package, that's a great, I think, international effort and international collaboration. And SOSA, I'm really excited about that partnership. All right, how about the 6 GHz Committee?
So the 6 GHz Committee, they were originally spun up the year before last, but they really got their feet under them in the last 12 months. The big output, they made a number of recommendations to the FCC, defining, how the universal licensing system should look to address supporting the incumbents for AFC systems. They made a number of recommendations on how test and certification can work to the FCC. And then they developed the first comprehensive requirements specification for 6 GHz AFC systems, and that's been validated and approved by the members. So that's now available on the website. That's kind of a major undertaking because that now provides a baseline for moving the band forward and doing test and certification in the 6 GHz band for AFC systems.
Yeah, that's really, really exciting. And those are all available, like you said, on the website at 6ghz.wirelessinnovation.org. All right, and last but not least, how about our events last year?
We did a number of webinars in our webinar series, and folks can find those, I think, by following a link that will be included with this podcast.
Yeah,
there are a number of webinars for both CBRS and 6 GHz were done, and those are available on our YouTube channel. We also, the big event we did last year was WINCOM 2021. That was done as an online event. We had about 270 participants in that, 20-something speakers over 3 days. It was a really good event. Feedback we've gotten on that has been pretty positive. People were happy with how it worked. Happy at the way that they were able to pick and choose the various sessions that they participated in, and the broad coverage we had of kind of everything involved with software-defined radio and spectrum sharing worlds.
Yeah, that was really exciting. I thought it went really well, and yeah, we did receive a lot of great feedback. So I know I love doing that event. So I enjoy it. I'm crazy. Okay, so now heading back around, I'll go right back up to the top again for 2022. What are we looking at for the Spectrum Sharing Committee?
So Spectrum Sharing Committee, I think, is going to just continue development of the Release 2 specifications. When new requirements, changes are identified in the existing specifications from deployed systems, those come back into the to the WINForum, and then the WINForum looks at seeing what new features and capabilities need to be added into the standards to support that functionality, what changes need to be made and how existing things work in order to fix problems that they found in the field. So it's really going to be just evolution of the release to specifications moving forward, and adding new, like I said, a la carte features and capabilities as required.
Great. And then how about Software-Defined Systems Committee?
I think the big thing that's going to come out of the Software-Defined Systems Committee in 2022 will be the recommendations that they're going to make to SOSA. They've been having, as I said, they've been having ongoing meetings with SOSA, and I think now that a lot of the new standards are out, they'll be, and those should be published soon. With all the new standards that are out, those can be provided as recommendations for adoption by SOSA moving forward. So I think that's going to be their big activity for the year.
Great. And then now the 6 GHz Committee.
So now that we have baseline requirements, the next thing you have to do is test against the requirements. So the big thing that's going to be spun up in, I mean, they'll continue to evolve the requirements as new things come in. But I think the big next step for the 6 GHz Committee is to develop a accreditation program for test labs to do test and certification against those requirements that were developed in TS 1014, which is their requirements standard. So I anticipate that coming out of that, there will be an accreditation program that is defined. And we will start the process of actually accrediting test labs to do the test and certification of AFC systems. Last year, towards the end of the year, the FCC put out the request for proposals for AFC system providers, and 14 organizations provided proposals to the FCC. Most of those organizations are participating in one form or another in WInnForum, so I'm hoping that what they come up with there will be useful to all of those member organizations.
Yeah, that's super exciting. All right, and then events. I know this is tough given the coronavirus situation, but yeah, we're kind of doing what everyone else is doing. We don't know.
I know the board has said, so the board's doing an evaluation of face-to-face meetings quarter by quarter, and they're really looking at when can we get back together. My hope, their hope of the board of directors is that we can meet at least face-to-face a couple of times to work through some of the thorny issues that come up in the development of standards, recommendations and standards. It's just easier to work through some of those things when you're face to face than it is through web conference. And then there's an open question about WINCOM 2021 or 2022. My guess is that'll still be a virtual event. We may look at doing a face-to-face event in 2023, but for the coming year, I think it's just going to be too tight of a schedule for us to do WINCOM 2022 face-to-face. So that'll probably be virtual again. And I think that's worked out well for a lot of people doing that conference virtually. So that may continue to be a model for us in the future, but that's TBD. We're going to be reaching out to members and finding out what they think once we actually can get all of our members traveling again.
Yeah, and of course we'll continue to offer webinars throughout the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that the next webinar will be focused on either TS 1014, the 6 GHz requirements document, or the new specifications that have come out of the Software-Defined Systems Committee. Those will probably be the next two webinars. I just don't know what order, and obviously we don't have the dates picked yet, but they should be sometime soon.
Yeah, and I will make sure to put links to our events calendar and our webinars page in your show notes, so everybody can keep up to date on that and go ahead and join our email list if they're not already.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Lee, and I'm looking forward to a great year ahead.
Yeah, me too. I think it's exciting times and lots of good work being done by our members.
Yeah, super, super proud of all the work that's been done. All right. Well, thanks, and you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. You
All
too.
right. Bye.